Hi, Josh. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for giving me this time. I'm really excited to meet you today. You have many fans in the HR community in Iran. Sorry, I'm not very fluent in English, so one of my friends is here with me to help with translation whenever needed. I have a few questions, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and share them with my friends. My first question is, which HR roles do you believe will disappear or be fundamentally transformed over the next 5 years?
Well, it's not exactly clear which jobs will disappear. The roles that are going to be transformed the fastest are call centers, service centers, people that handle employee inquiries, where they're mostly asking for tactical information, because a lot of that can be automated fairly easily with AI. The second role that's going to be transformed tremendously is the recruiter role, because so much of the talent acquisition process is getting automated. There will be much less tactical work and background checking and screening, because the AI will do a lot of that. Third role that's transforming very, very fast is the role of the instructional designer or training developer, somebody who builds training, because a lot of the training is now being almost real-time developed by AI, and a lot of, I would say in the next few years, we'll be able to go to the AI and ask it a question, and it'll find information either from the company or from experts, and it'll just produce it without an instructional designer being involved. And then the fourth role that's probably going to change massively is the HR business partner. Most HR business partners, 75% of HR business partners, tend to do a lot of tactical work, looking things up, helping employees fill out forms, answering questions about policies, safety, etc. More and more of that will be automated by AI agents. So those people will still be there. I think my guess is they'll still be there, but they're going to be doing much more strategic things. And then the other family of jobs that's going through a huge amount of change is the jobs in people analytics and data analysis, because in most medium to larger companies, even in small companies, it's very hard to find enough data about people because it's sprinkled around in different systems. So there's people that are basically HR analysts finding information on pay or turnover or skills or capabilities or qualifications or people that are ready for promotion and so forth. That data is going to be very easy to find by managers, and we won't need to go to an HR analyst to get that data because AI is very good at that. So those are the 4 or 5 areas where I think there's going to be the biggest disruption. But I don't know if HR departments are going to be that much smaller. We can talk about that later, because there's new jobs that are going to be created building the AI systems and taking care of and training the AI systems. So I think most HR people are going to have new jobs, not necessarily no job.
Josh, do you personally use AI in your day-to-day job? And what jobs will be created in the age of AI?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a pretty good case study. I've been doing this almost 30 years. Most of the work we do is talking to people like you and other companies, doing surveys, analyzing or curating information from other research, and then trying to find new solutions for various people management and HR and technology challenges that companies have. And then what we do is we write reports and we write articles and we put them on a website, and then we sell access to that website through a membership or a subscription of some kind. And what you find is that 75% or more of the people that buy these things from us don't have time to read it. So we turned it into courses, and we built a lot of, dozens and dozens and dozens of courses for this, which were also expensive and time consuming to build. We now use AI for everything. So this, for example, our conversation, we'll record it and put it into Galileo if we decide we need it. And our AI, Galileo, summarizes that information for us, allows us to conglomerate all the different interviews we've done on a topic with each other. And then our clients can get direct access to the information that we develop through Galileo and ask questions to Galileo that they would normally ask us. I mean, we have tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of people that reach out to us to try to talk about their situations, their companies, their problems, their careers, and so forth. And we don't have enough time to talk to all of them. We talk to them as many as we can. They can all talk to Galileo now and get access to the same quality of information they would get from us. It's not quite the same as talking to a person, but so, and our training content has been revolutionized by AI. Our product, which we call Galileo Learn, is basically a complete academy of everything you could ever ask about HR. And you can go into it and take courses, or you can just ask it questions and it'll teach you things. And our whole new certification, which we just launched, which we call the Global HR Executive Excellence Certification, is a 50-hour training program using AI about HR and different parts of the technology stack of HR, and actually uses AI for a simulated case study where a student, an HR person, an HR professional, will go through these different modules, and then they will get a real company situation, and they'll have to apply what they've learned to that situation and see how well they did and what they learned. So, I mean, we're using it everywhere.
That's great. That's really amazing how AI is spreading out throughout the job.
But I'll say, let me just add to that. It's taken us 3 years or more to get to this point. And it isn't as simple as buying a $20 license to Claude or OpenAI and just sticking a bunch of stuff in it. You have to take care of it. You have to make sure the content is the right quality. You have to train the AI to understand the language that you use. You have to give it access to the right definitions of terms so it doesn't misinterpret the data that you have. You have to label information so it knows what it means. It's called training, but we have two or three full-time people who just take care of Galileo. Plus, we have an engineer who makes sure that Galileo is always up to date. So I think in HR departments, there will be roles that are not IT roles, where people will be managing and maintaining these knowledge systems that employees use, because policies and rules and pay strategies and things are changing all the time. So, and those will be fun jobs. I think some of the people in HR are going to really enjoy that kind of work because it's a way to reach more employees faster.
In your opinion, what will distinguish the most successful CHROs in 2030 from today's HR leaders?
Well, being a successful CHRO is a hard job today, and it'll be a slightly different job in 2030. There's two huge dimensions to the CHRO job. One is running HR, which is complex in itself, and that's dealing with the 95 disciplines of HR, everything from training to pay to turnover to management development to certification to compliance to employee experience to diversity and so forth, and managing that big group of people and deciding how to set it up and finding what technology to use. And then there's the even more important part of the job, which is making sure that the HR people and the HR programs are targeting the business strategies of the company. Every time the company goes through a new product or a merger or a downsizing or an expansion to a new industry or a new geography, Somebody's got to figure out how to hire people, and a lot of CHROs also run facilities. A lot of them run the HR technology. So there's this strategic nature to the job of, are we building the right people practices to improve the, what I call, dynamic enablement of people so that the company can keep growing. And that is a job of really being a business executive and then using and leveraging the HR expertise you have to advance what the company's trying to do. In the next 5 years, 4 years, I guess it is, to 2030, another dimension of that is going to be, how do I take advantage of these AI agents and either build them or buy them? And a lot of them are going to be built, not bought, which is a big difference from the way it is today, to build exclusive and unique solutions to our company that really reinforce what we're trying to do. If you're an oil company, I mean, I know in Iran you have a lot of energy companies and related things. You might need agents that deal with safety or operational issues that have nothing to do with what a software company or a retailer or another type of manufacturer would do. And so the CHRO of 2030 has to be pretty smart about what this technology is capable of and how to best enable it for these opportunities that come up. I would guess that most HR leaders within the next 3 to 4 years are going to become very familiar with AI. A lot of these technologies are like magic for the first few years, and then after a while, it's like using how to use email or Microsoft Word. I mean, it's no big deal anymore because it becomes common. And then the issues are managing the data, eliminating bias, understanding how to tune the AI to do things correctly. And then we have this idea of what we call super agents, where in HR in 2030, we think there's going to be very intelligent agents that do very strategic things. So for example, most companies have a never-ending problem of redeploying people to new opportunities when either business units are shrinking or there's people that are ready for a new opportunity, and then redeploying them as opposed to hiring people from the outside. There will be agents that do that dynamically monitor people's skills, that dynamically monitors people's pay, and make decisions or recommend decisions for managers based on the data in the HR infrastructure. The CHRO has to understand how that works and manage it. So there's going to be much more management of data and technology in 3 or 4 years as core part of the HR profession and the HR role.
In your experience, what should never be assigned to AI in HR?
Well, anything that has to do with a personal grievance, a violation, a theft, some form of corruption, anything that's really a human-centered personal issue, I don't think AI will really be the right way to handle that. There would be forms, I suppose, that people could fill out to notify AI about incidents and things, but and then the problem of coaching somebody to become a higher performer, to giving them advice as a leader, to teaching them how to take on a new responsibility. I mean, I think AI can help a lot, but most of us are not entirely self-educated. We need peers, we need people to talk to, we need advice, we need friends, we need relationships. I mean, a lot of the intelligence and strategy that comes out of a company is people talking to each other, discussing issues, discussing opportunities, discussing customers, discussing products, and coming up with new ideas. You're not going to do that by yourself. So there's going to be a lot of collaborative and personal experiences in HR that are going to always exist. And the other thing that's going to continue, certainly through 2030, is the redesign of how companies work. I mean, AI is the first technology in my career that can take a massive amount of data and make sense of it in minutes that used to take months, which means that a lot of these vertically siloed business processes we have in companies, the sales department, the marketing department, the finance department, the quality department, the customer service department, can be stitched together in horizontal workflows. So I think there's going to be a lot of business re-engineering that is very human. And, you know, the way I think about it is human beings by our nature are value creators. We have basically two instincts. The first instinct is learning. The second instinct is problem solving. And that comes from everybody as a child. Well, whatever the AI is doing, even if it's doing it well, we're going to sit around as humans and we're going to say, hey, what about this? Let's try that. What are, you know, coming up with new ideas. So there's going to be plenty of things for humans to do. And then the work of managing the AI is a human job too. The AI doesn't teach itself everything that it needs to know. It doesn't know when it's wrong. It doesn't know when it has bad data. So there's, you know, much more complex business-oriented work that we can all do because we won't be bogged down looking for data all day and building spreadsheets to try to store it.
How do the world's best companies identify high potential talent today?
Well, it's a very magical process, and I think every company does it in a slightly different way. But I think the most successful companies have learned through their own experiences and through their own leaders what are the behaviors and skills and capabilities of a high performer. And it usually has nothing to do with where they went to school or what their degree was in. Sometimes that's related, but there's certain attributes or capabilities that make people successful in different companies. You can take two companies in the same industry and the profile of a high performer will be different in each company. That's completely different because they have different cultures. You know, for example, what I've sort of concluded over the years is that in every industry, there's 3 or 4 sort of prototypes of a company. There are really innovative companies that try to be first to market, most creative, most high innovation, and they're very experimental and very creative. And high performers in those companies are going to be very savvy marketeers and developers and creators. There are companies that are very solution oriented and they're very customer service, they're hospitality or problem solving oriented. And the high performers in those companies are probably going to be people that are really good listeners and problem solvers and customer service and consulting types. And then there are companies that are low cost, high scale price leaders who try to do the same thing as their competitors, but cheaper and in a more scalable way. In those kinds of companies, the high performers are going to be people that think about supply chains and costs and process optimization and data. So you could take 3 companies in the same industry. One is a pioneer, one is a value provider, one is a low-cost producer, and the high-performing people will be different. Now, you know, there's some characteristics that are the same in every company. People who work hard, people who have ambition, people that are good at numbers, people that are good at working with other people. But there's a lot of different cultural experiences. You guys know this. I've worked in, I don't know, 7 or 8 companies, maybe 10 in my career, and they're all completely different. Some of them were software companies, some were not, but the characteristics of the leaders. The other thing that happens in high performance is companies go through cycles. There's periods of time where the company is growing really fast, and in those situations, the high performers are going to be people that can adapt very, very quickly to change and learn very, very quickly. Then there are companies that are going through downsizing or shrinking, or they're re-engineering themselves. The high performers in those companies are going to be people that can really organize teams to make things more productive and efficient, and can, identify cost and eliminate things. That's a different skill set from grow. But I think the fundamentals of high performers are, they think about the mission of the company, not themselves. They're not as self-centered as maybe they could be. They are good at connecting people together, because no individual can act alone, and the more people you can bring together and tap into, the better you're going to perform. And they have the humility to learn how to grow in that company, and they're not trying to be the one that tells everybody else what to do. Those are sort of some of the fundamental human-centered leadership skills that are pretty much common in every organization I've ever met.
That's interesting. Is employee engagement still the most important HR metric, or do you believe there are better measures of organizational success?
I still think it is. It has different names. It can be called employee engagement, employee experience, employee productivity. You can call it a lot of things. The way I think about it, and I wrote about this in the book Irresistible, is you want to tap into the energy of people at work. Most people spend more time at work than they do at home. They spend more time with their work peers than they do with their families, at least during the working part of their lives. So if they're not engaged or excited or, drawn into the work in some fashion, it's not giving them some sense of satisfaction, they are probably feeling like they shouldn't be there, because they like to be home or doing something with their families. So if we can create an environment that's inspiring and challenging and rewarding for the people, they're going to add more and more and more value, either doing the job they have or identifying problems to solve or creating new things. So there are no companies that have no people. There are no companies that are not dependent on people. I don't care how smart the AI gets. Somebody has to take care of the AI. Somebody has to apply the AI. Somebody has to design the AI, etc. So at the core, for the next, as long as I'm alive, people are going to be the core of every company. And so if you can't keep people in your company, if they're quitting, if they're checking out, if they're goofing off because they hate their jobs, if they're getting hurt, if they're getting insulted or damaged by their boss, your company's going to underperform for a whole bunch of reasons. And turnover is very expensive. Customers will perceive a poor experience. You're going to lose customers. You're going to lose money. I mean, there's all sorts of bad things that happen when the employees are unhappy. So this is a never-ending issue to me. This is always going to be existential.
Based on your research, what do the best CEOs expect from their HR leader?
Well, I think the number one thing that CEOs want, and I know this is the way I feel, is I want the HR person to be a business person. I want them to think about the business first and the HR person part second. And I want them to use their expertise and their resources in HR to improve the revenue, the customer service, the support, the time to market of the company. I don't mind hearing about the HR issues, and I need to know, obviously the CEO wants to know what they are, but they would like the HR leader to come with solutions and to be honest. I think one of the most difficult jobs of an HR leader is to be honest with executives about what's not working and about what their behaviors may be that are perhaps getting in the way. And some CEOs love that and some don't. Some of them have already made up their minds how they want to do things. And if you're a good HR leader, you have a lot of skills in organizational change. every organization is going through some form of change all the time. It never stops. And what the HR leaders are supposed to be really good at is driving that change in the most strategic way so that the company can grow. That's what I would want the CHRO to do. And I would want the CHRO to come to me as a CEO and say, hey, we have a problem over here. I want you to be aware of it. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I'm going to do, as opposed to me going to them and asking them to do HR work. So I think the higher you get up in HR, the more experience you have, the more you have to think like a CEO or a business person and a little bit less like an HR person.
Thank you so much for your time. It was great talking
Absolutely.
with you. I really enjoyed our conversation and learned a lot. Thank you again, and I hope we can stay in touch. Have a good time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.